But yeah, so now that we're heading back, there was a topic that I know you wanted to talk about, Adam, in the past. So uh, we had a long time ago in our previous stream, we used to go through the forums and look at suggestion forums and brought out suggestions that we really liked into the forum. So this is a good opportunity to bring up one that you particularly grabbed from the forums. And I don't know, how about everybody else? So this is a good opportunity for you guys. And wow, thanks so much for the Prime sub there. Yeah, so all of you guys, if you had something that you wanted to, a suggestion that you wanted to add to the game, what would it be? If you had like one thing that you want to talk, and we would like to look at your suggestion and figure out how would that look in a game like Wurm Online, and try to go through the process of figuring that out. And if any of you guys have any comments, please let us know about that. But Adam had one that he saw where someone had roughly just suggested how they wanted to be able to entice people to go out and explore. And the question is, like, how would you do that? How would you entice people to go out and explore in a game like this? Why would you want to go explore? I mean, more than what you already have. So there's already things that make you want to go explore, depending on what you like. So if you were a miner, you'd want to go out and explore veins. You'd want to find the veins that you don't have on your deed. You want to find where all the good high-level veins are when you get high level. But how would you make someone want to go exploring if you were a type of player that liked exploring? Because this game doesn't really reward you for exploring. Almost at all, like hardly at all. So now you had taught me this. So what? Yeah, no, go ahead. What were your thoughts on that?
The suggestion that was made on the forums, like, I'm not advocating for what they suggested, but it just brought, like, it piqued my interest because they were trying to think. They were basically first not complaining, but just suggesting that it's a problem with exploration in this game, that it's much more rewarding to stay on your deed and just continue to grind your skills rather than go out and exploring. And they were saying how much they love exploring and just seeing other people's deeds and just seeing what's around in the area. That they love that portion of the game, but every time they do it, they feel like they're missing out on the time that they should be spending getting their skills up. So their suggestion was to somehow add a skill gain associated with the exploring. And they gave a couple examples, like, for example, as you're running around, you gain stamina, body stamina. And as you're riding a horse, you gain body control and those sorts of things, so that your skills are still going up while you're exploring. Now, obviously, the thread blew up with a whole bunch of, you can't just do that, because then there's people can exploit that. They can just, like, set their horse against the wall and just, like, press forward and continue to get body control stats that way or something like that. Which, okay, that's fair, but my feeling is that, like, this person is onto something, in the sense that exploration in this game is great fun. But at the same time, you're not gaining anything towards your character. Maybe you'll get a few sprouts here and there, or maybe just a couple pieces that you're hunting or whatever, but there's nothing to progress your character in that way when you're just, like, looking at other people's deeds or exploring the area.
I don't mind BC on horse per tile traveled.
Yeah, I mean,
would that make you want to explore, or would that just make you feel like now you have to grind body control by going on a horse?
But see, that argument could be made for anything. Like, now I feel like I need to grind my body control by shooting arrows.
Yeah,
because arrows gives me body control, right? Like, it gives you an additional thing that you could do that would also
So
grind some skills.
So I do want to get to all of you guys' comments. So let's first wrap this one up. How would we make people, or the explorer type, not everybody, we're not talking about making everybody go explore, everybody has to go explore, but to give exploring some sort of substance that they can do for the explorer types, that they can earn, that they can own, like a blacksmith owns being able to create tools for everybody. How do we make exploring that type of give that much depth, that much to become an explorer means something in this game? And I was thinking about it for a while, and really imagine if I guess typical is onto it right now. Yeah. So imagine if you were the explorer type, you would go out, you would be able to create your own maps in this game that you can give to players that would be able to determine your location within that map.
And maybe
if you had
also
that map,
you can add like what do you call it? Deeds to that map. Right?
This
like
would be a start. So we're trying to determine what little could they do to make exploring something that is worth doing. So imagine, I guess, you have a piece of paper, you're able to start the map, and you would have to go exploring into the different areas. And the areas that you uncover within this item allows a player to determine where they are if they were holding that map and they right-clicked it and used it, and then they would be, and you were in the area of that map's discovery, that you'd be able to tell where you were on that map versus on that one use.
Yeah, and maybe not with pinpoint accuracy, but like sort of like a little area. You are in this.
Sure. Region. How about within this square grid? Mm-hmm. You are in G11 or something.
Or maybe the map could be more zoomed in to be like a map of a square grid. And yeah, I don't know.
Well, if they do it by grid, at least they could program it well. They could explore each particular grid. You'd have to unlock each grid within that map, and then within that item, you would have to be within one of those square grids to determine where you are, or else the map would just say it couldn't determine where you were. Anyway, so would that be enough, though? If they added that, would that be enough for the explorer type to go, okay, now I'm learning or I'm uncovering something that I can do while exploring that other people that don't like exploring would not have that benefit? Maybe.
So I'm going back just a little bit in the comments. Katz is saying, my problem with exploration is that regardless of where you go, it all looks basically the same, other than the differences of deeds. Whereas in any other MMO you explore and you discover completely different looking areas.
Right. So I don't want to miss anybody's stuff. So let's start at the top here, and we'll get to yours, Katz. Reganation said he wants to be able to make glass. So there's a couple things with making glass, which would be cool. Glass making as a tool would be really cool. However, and I don't know if this has changed, Wurm doesn't have the ability, or hasn't had the ability in the past, to have transparent items. So, and this is why when they created our goblin crystal ball, that the crystal ball is not transparent or has any kind of transparency. And I think they would have to solve that problem first. then glassmaking would become some sort of an option. But then
Right.
let's take a look at what glassmaking would actually be. So the substance of glassmaking, would it be on in line with like another profession? Would it be like a leatherworking thing where people get usable items that we can use towards stuff? Would it be more of like a toy making thing, something fun that you can create, that you can, like a furniture type items where you could place items in your house and it would look cool? I know that you,
Yeah.
like one item
Windows.
that I'm sure somebody said is that it would be you would have windows. So windows are good, and then they would have to have some sort of benefit, I guess, tied to whether you have windows. But remember, when they made the openings for the houses, and they basically, like, the first instinct for them was, for the developers at the time, was to say, okay, we have openings, but if you do decide to make an opening, then beds won't work because they'll be too drafty. And then, of course, people didn't like that, and they reverted
I don't
that
like
decision.
that either.
And they did the same thing with large carts. Remember when they made double door wide, the double wide doors? They made it so that large carts could not fit through single wide doors, so that it would give you a benefit for getting the double wide. And people did not like that. They
why
basically
people
said,
didn't
well,
like
now
that?
because now there's no reason for a single wide door.
Right. You may
There's
as
no
well just make
benefit.
a double. There's no benefit. So no.
They
houses
basically
would have
gave a
single
benefit for the
anymore.
double wide, and then they gave a negative for single wide, and they gave no benefit for the single wide, and therefore everybody went to the double wide. And so they just didn't balance that
Yeah.
right. So
Yeah.
So now the question is, okay, what is the glass making? What does that look like? Can it be a useful skill that people would want to use?
Hoofnice proposes that you can combine this with a new skill that involves making potions or poultices, or like
Yeah. So
kind of like expand the alchemy.
So at that point, then glass making becomes a secondary subset skill for like potion making or alchemy or something.
Hmm.
Right? It's not
This
its
would be cool.
own thing. So
Glass and ceramics.
if I was a developer and thinking, okay, I can create all this glass making stuff, how many people would do it based on that the skill in itself doesn't have that many uses? Like we would have to find like lots of uses so that people would want to use it, but it being just related or a secondary skill for like alchemy, I don't think we're there yet. We're not there yet. We still have to add something that, like, at least I would say 5 items that,
like, it just sounds like something that,
I'm sure we could get there
Titch-
if we talked far
It's like
enough.
it sounds like a Titch-like system where we would need it to be so integrated with a whole bunch of different things. Like potions could be a massive, massive thing if thought through correctly.
Right. And I wouldn't just want like, okay, now we have glass,
we're
so let's
heading.
create glass type items.
Oh, I see where
I think we're in the right way. Yeah. Let's create
Yeah,
glass
beverage.
type items that we already have in the game of other stuff and give them different properties. So now it's still like a secondary type of ability that you wouldn't really need for any
Yeah.
particular reason. It only
stained glass
enhances
windows,
your
church.
things. So it could be used as more builder type skill.
Mhm.
And that would be cool.
Like, could you just imagine one wall type being just a stained glass window that, or maybe even expand that so that you can make multiple house walls be one big stained glass window, in the same way as they do with the what do you call it? The grates.
Am I going the wrong way?
No, we have to go
No,
to the
it's
right
this
here.
way.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
through the canal.
Anyway,
Make
so
an
yeah,
entire wall like a stained glass window, and you can combine multiple walls into a massive stained glass window. That would be
I wouldn't
really
mind seeing how that type of profession could develop into something that's extremely useful for glassmaking, because I know a lot of people want something like glassmaking, but I
combine
don't
glass
want it to
blowing
be
and jewel
something
smithing.
that I don't want it
That's
to be
the
something
thing.
that just turns into another, I don't know, coal making
Like
or
5
something.
items, right?
Yeah.
So glass blowing plus jewel smithing to create faux gems that priests could use but have a lesser benefit. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. All right,
Or
let's move
maybe
on.
add additional things for gems, for decorative things.
Yeah. I mean, that's an entire thing that we would want, or suggestion that we'd want in total, which would be being able to, like, I'm surprised, I don't know if anybody said this yet, but I'll say it after. Okay, typical, yeah. You want the merge PvP and PvE. I feel like they did that already, and it did not work. Antier, drag multiple items out of BSBs and FSBs at once. Highlight multiple items, drag them out. The same menu pops up when you enter the number to pull out. So you want different types of items at the same time, being able to drag them out of a BSB
Right.
and FSB.
Like, let's say you have some planks and some shafts, and you want to just be able to grab both and just bring them into your inventory.
And then you say 10, and then it gives you 10 of each one. Something like that, I'm guessing. That would be nice. That would be a nice little change.
You know, over the years, they've changed the BSB way of, bringing stuff out, but it's always been clunky.
I don't know if you know this, Antier, something that you might know, and I don't know if you have to turn something on or off, but if you hold Shift and Enter down, and then you drag out of a FSB, for example, or BSB, into a pottery bowl or your inventory. This is a trick that I think you did, Adam, for hot food cooking. I don't know if he's told you that.
Oh, no, that's separate. You're thinking of two separate things.
I'm thinking of two separate things.
So what you're thinking of is, so you know how if you're moving from one BSB to another BSB, you can like haul a certain amount of stuff, and it'll like have a timer, and it'll just like slowly put them over. But if you're bringing something from a BSB, let's say into a large cart, there is no timer. It's like you can only carry as much as you can carry, and bringing it over, like, let's say 5 rock shards at a time, let's say. But if you hold shift and enter together, and you drag the rock shards from a BSB into a large cart, it will cycle through the menus. It's a little bit finicky, but you kind of have to press enter at the right time, but it'll cycle through the menus so that you don't have to click send every single time. Okay, so you just can hold shift and enter down and just keep dragging 5 rock shards at a time out from the BSB into a large cart just by dragging. Click, drag, click, drag, click, drag, click, drag. And you won't have to cycle through the menus. That speeds things up a little bit. But what you're thinking, Brian, was in the options, I don't know if you can show your settings, but in the options, there's an option called, let me see if I can find it, default shift drag value. And you have to enable the shift drag in GUI. Okay, it's on the game settings. So you enable the shift drag in GUI, and if you change that default shift drag value down to 1, okay, change it back down to 1.
Down to 1, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so if you do that, you can do some pretty interesting things with this. Like, for example, and this is going to be good for you, Antier. Let's say you want to make a meal in a pottery bowl, let's say a breakfast, that contains 1 meat and 1 vegetable, let's say. Okay, so you have in your inventory, let's say you have a backpack that has 100 meat in it, and you have another backpack that has 100 vegetables in it. Okay. Let me see if I can get the buttons here. So if you hold Control, it'll allow you to select multiple items. So you hold Control, and you can select the stack of meat, the 100 meat, the heading,
Mm-hmm.
and you keep your control down and you select the stack of vegetables. Okay, so now both are selected. And now once they're selected, you hold shift and you can drag, like click and drag just the meat into the pottery bowl, and it will bring one meat and one veggie.
There you go.
And this is how people pan fill. Okay, so they'll select the two, they'll highlight the two items, like a stack of 100 meat, a stack of 100 veggies. They'll hold shift, they'll set this shift drag thing to 1, and then they can just take the meat and put it into the pottery bowl, and it'll bring one meat and one veggie. And you can just shift drag into multiple pottery bowls like this.
There's a little tip for people that don't know.
Yeah.
All right, finally, Catspur. By having servers with different biomes, so different servers or different areas within a server, would that be enough? I actually like that. We see a tiny bit of that within mines, with veins having different areas. When they put, for example, marble in, we found an area where there was like 20
marbles,
veins, marble veins within a little area, and then other places would not have any marble. But you're more thinking entire areas of completely different looks and feelings. And Vanguard did this well. Vanguard had 3 different areas. And Deathwind, thanks for the sub there.
Thanks for the sub.
We had
13 months.
Wow. So we had 3 areas. One of the areas was like a medieval style type. And the area would affect the types of houses that you can build on it, the types of the scenery around there. It would affect like everything. And then you would go and you would transfer down to like a desert city, and that thanks so much for the sub with Prime Crepid. Glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, so that's how Vanguard did it. They had 3 distinct continents with 3 distinct types of environments, and then it affected like everything that you could craft, I believe. Even like the armor types and that sort of thing would be different depending on the style that you learned on that continent.
Right.
Would that be something that you would be thinking of? I don't know, Katz, if you're still there.
I think that, like, if
you're still there.
If I can just get the idea here, it's like you're saying different servers having different biomes. So, like, let's say one full server, this is like the desert biome. So the entire server is like mostly desert, and then you have another server that's mostly steppe. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Or to introduce new landscapes specific to that server. Because either way, that would be restrictive, right? Because that would be restrictive. You'd have to go there just for that biome to access it.
Yeah, like the way that Melody is, it's very hilly and mountainy, right? There's lots of tall, rocky, and hard to traverse terrain. And then you go over to Cadence, and it's like soft rolling hills where there's no problem traversing it all. I assume that that's not quite exactly what you're thinking of.
Yeah, I'm assuming with the biomes, for example, the whole point of a biome is to restrict specific items of some kind, whether they're trees or specific types of tiles for that server itself, so that when you went there, it would be like interesting to traverse there because it would be different than where you were, right? So in that case, because of that, remember within Wurm, you can't separate the biomes with everything else in the game, right? With new types of trees that only go there, with new types of tiles that only spawn there, maybe new types of mines. So all of a sudden, all of these materials...
Hang a right here.
Okay. all of a sudden, all these new types of materials would have to be interesting enough or unique enough to want to go to that area to gather those materials.
Yeah, like this ties into the exploration, like the benefits of exploring. Like if
'Cause
you know
that would be the
on that
benefit, right?
server, yeah, if you go, you
It
know that
wouldn't
on
be
that
the
server
look
there's
of
like
it.
tons of sandstone available, but there's no sandstone on this other server, for example.
Yeah,
I
so
can see
right. So if
people
you have a
complaining, though.
cactus, you have a cactus, you go
Yeah.
over to that server in the desert, you take a sprout or you get the cactus items, then those cactus items would make something specific that you couldn't have made without those cactus pieces. And
Yeah,
that gives you a chain reaction. And what happened to my camera? Sorry. Yeah. that would continue a chain reaction that way. The biome would introduce new items, new materials that then would be used within the game for something new that you would create for a reason, so that it would be, interesting enough, or you would want it enough to go out of your way to to do that.
See, and Sonoka brings up a point that I think I agree with, that like as it is, different types of forests and different types of biomes are already it's already offering that kind of like variety in terms of like exploring. You could be in a steppe and then all of a sudden you're in a walnut forest, and all of a sudden tundra opens up, and it gives you lots of different sort of things to see. I think what Casper is saying is to spread that out more so that it takes longer to get to, let's say, that steppe, or that way it encourages you to travel far. Like you have to get on your boat and go to find that steppe somewhere. And then the gankable players pointing out that this would cause more sort of like supply, like trade. It would increase demand for certain things.
That's
Like
true.
if let's say on this server we couldn't find sandstone, let's say, then all of a sudden everybody on this server who needs sandstone needs to rely on people on other servers to transport the sandstone over to here, which I think would be good for the economy. I'm feeling like people would just complain about it as calling out nerf,
I think the end result is the fact that you shouldn't be able to have everything within walking distance of your deed. All the natural types of materials that are out within the world of Wurm shouldn't be readily accessible within your deed or surrounding areas like that. Or else now all of a sudden, you don't have to go anywhere ever. And we already feel that way. Like we already feel like we don't have to go anywhere.
Right. Dresden has a great idea.
Yes.
The further away you are from your deed, the more like you get a percentage bonus to your experience for doing things. Now, I could see that. I could see that being a little bit. I can see how people could abuse that, right? Like, they can plant a deed on one side of the server and then plant another deed on the other side of the server with two different characters, and then swap them over. So one lives on the other deed and the other lives on the other deed, right? And then just like that's how they function, and then they can get the full be on their own deeds or whatever. But that's an interesting idea.
Right. Maybe the idea is that you have to be far away. The further away from any deed, gives you like a little bit of a bonus.
But then you get
right, because it's like the further within wilderness.
Right, but then you'll get the imbalance because on this server there is very little wilderness left.
Right.
And so what you're basically forcing everybody on this server to do is
go to another server.
Let's say.
I mean, that's fine.
Know.
That would help with population density.
Yeah.
That would help spread people out evenly.
But it would also encourage people to not build, right? Because you want to leave.
It would also encourage people to not only not build, but not live close to one another, which is something that I think we don't want to encourage.
We don't want that, yeah.
All right, so Wisebit, you said on Wurm Unlimited server you played, you had a random chest placed throughout the world that was fun to look out for. The other thing they did was hand
You're gonna have to turn right.
place gnomes. I thought our place is right in front of us.
Is it?
Yeah. You'd have hand placed gnomes throughout. That was really fun. Yeah, so the server that you were on just placed random chests and stuff around and had you look out for it. But that's cool. That's like more of a traditional MMO type of feel.
They do have that capability in this game to do that.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing more of like a treasure map type of thing. Like advance it more than just random. Make it so that you could start a treasure map hunt yourself and then locate a specific area, have to dig or something.
I mean, they already have
the chest.
archaeology, right? Archaeology has that feature sort of embedded in it where you
but it's not, there's no exploration in that, right? It's just
go
anywhere and then do archaeology.
Yeah, but
it's
you're
not
looking
like
for old deeds.
You're looking for specific old deeds. Very few people are looking for very specific old deeds, and the only reward you get from that is the token. That's it. That's the reward that you get. And you get the piece of paper that has a report. Those are what you get.
No. And you also get all the special fragments. When you open,
you only get a special fragment.
You've never gotten the cache. Maybe you're not sure about the caches.
Okay. Now, when I said specific deed, I meant specifically a deed that you want to go see. You don't need to go to a specific deed beforehand to find special things. So you're just saying any old deed. Your response is any old deed. I'm talking about a specific location that you have to get to based on the map.
I understand that so you're looking for a feature to be added. You're looking for a feature to be added that has you search out a very... Okay, but if that treasure chest is in a random location, then you're not going to a specific location anymore.
You are, because what my goal would be that you wouldn't have a specific... You would have a map that would pinpoint a specific location that you would have to get to in order to get that treasure chest. Think like from a smaller degree, think like what's the name of that game? Like a pirate game or something.
What game? Like a Sea of Thieves?
Like a Sea of Thieves or something, right? You would have a specific location, you have an X on a map, and then you'd have to go there and you'd have to uncover the chest.
I'm an old man.
You'd have to wormify that, but that allows you to go to a very specific location.
Okay.
On the map. And I only commented on that based on Wisebit saying that, like on the server that they were on, it was just randomly placed. There was chests randomly placed on the map. And I said, if you want to wormify that, you would create like a little treasure chest type of game.